there's one thing I have learned within my 34 years of existence is that it is never too late to start over. It is never too late to come home. I feel like we live within a society, at least for the majority of this realm, this world. We are born into societies that want to disconnect us from our truth, our sovereignty, our individuality, and the nature of imagination, curiosity, joy, passion. And there's usually a disconnect that occurs in childhood. And it is a certain age or an authority figure of a parent, a teacher, an older sibling, a friend, an enemy, who tells you it is time to grow up. That is some of the most damaging words that you can tell a child. It is time to grow up. Because what does that mean? The intention of the condition and the program behind those words are to grow up so that you grow out of your imagination, grow out of your organic, authentic, sovereign self, so that you can become how society wants to shape you, so that you don't think for yourself, so that you don't question authority blindly, and so that you disconnect from the realms of magic and you enter the realms of, this might sound extreme, but in some cases, a form of dictatorship, because they are dictating you out of your truth. And this happens in childhood, in teenage years, even in adulthood, of how you're supposed to be. Even in schools, in the public education system in the United States, I don't know how it is for other countries, you have to have permission to use the restroom. You have to sit still for 8 hours of the day with a 30-minute break of lunch. And if you're a child, you have a little bit of recess time. And that is so detrimental to one's mental health, their mind, their heart, their spirit, their soul. And they're usually in an environment where there is a lack of color. Us as human beings, it's our birthright to be surrounded by color. It's very good for our mental health. It's very good for, honestly, just everything. And the more that society grows, they are becoming more and more disconnected from whimsy, from color, from beauty. I mean, look at the old, the ancient, even a century ago, the way that architecture was built. It was built to inspire the spirit, inspire the soul, spark something within you. I know that when I go into a building that is beautiful and intentionally crafted, I feel my spirit within me, and I witness it within the external realms, and it usually sparks just this divine feeling. If you've ever been surrounded by beauty, I'm sure you know this feeling, and it's a similar feeling of being surrounded by nature, within Mother Nature, in a beautiful area. It just feels right. It just feels like this is how we as human beings are supposed to use our spirituality and our artistry and the carving and creation of these physical buildings, furniture, and such things of this nature. That's why with the books that I write, I'm very intentional with the covers, because I know we're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but we do, and I want that beauty to be like reflected. And you know, even my lamp, like I put this belly dance skirt around it because it just makes me feel a sense of joy. And I think that is the ultimate pathway of returning to who we were as a child. It is the pathway of joy. One of the highest forces of spirituality is joy. And it's up there with laughter and love. And just the freedom to be the true self. And if you have the privilege to be able to dress how you want, and I've learned that when I first moved to Sedona, I first went to Sedona in 2014, my life shifted. I spent a week there, and I was met with individuals that continued to break me out of the matrix. I'm going to share a little story real quick because it is one of the most profound experiences of my life. So, I just want to make sure someone keeps calling me. Okay, so something terrible, horrific happened to me. And I went to Sedona to heal. My mother said, I'm going to fly you out to Sedona to heal. So I got on the plane by myself, and I went, and I was staying with my mother's family. And my mother's brother at the time said, I want to bring you to this arts and crafts show that I usually vend at every single week. And so I was brought to this arts and crafts fair, and I see this woman, this elder, this Navajo woman with very, 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 very long hair. And I just felt that invisible string, that pull. And I walked towards her, and she turned around and met me and hugged me. And then she gifted me a necklace that her and her tribe created. And she said she knew that I was coming, and that she created this for me for protection. And she placed it upon me, and then we just locked eyes and just gazed into each other. And then she gave me one more hug. And when we finished speaking and finished that experience, and she told me, she said, I know what you've gone through. Nobody should have gone through that. I didn't cry. Instead, I felt this energy, this lightness. And when we finished our exchange, individuals around were like, I didn't know you spoke Navajo. I didn't know you spoke their language. And I said, what do you mean? We were speaking English. Like, what? Just because she's Navajo, like, we were speaking English. And they were like, no. You and that woman were speaking Navajo to each other. And this was multiple individuals, my mother's brother included. And that whole week was just so spiritually aligned, and I met such beautiful souls. And when I returned to where I was living across the country, I lived with a hippie commune, like Terrence McKenna used to live in my bedroom. And I had already experimented. I was already very deep within the psychedelic community, but something shifted. I started taking it intentionally, and I would go to this beautiful giant pagoda, and I was meditating next to this tree, and I said, where am I supposed to be? I feel like my life just changed completely. And it said, you must return to Sedona, go and study massage therapy there, and your life will just blossom. Like, I just had this vision. And so that's what I did. I applied to massage school. There was only 13 people that are able to study it at a time, and they were full. But Nancy, the owner, was like, I will let you know if there's any dropouts. And I'm like, okay, well, it starts in 2 months. I don't think there's going to be any dropouts. A week later, I received a message, an email from Nancy. Someone dropped out. Would you like to come and study massage therapy? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. So I go to Sedona, and on the first day of class, it was so intentional. Every single individual that I went to massage school with is my soul family. We did eye gazing. We did these games where I was matched with Zach. Oh, I love Zach. He is a good friend. And he is very not woo-woo. Like, he's incredibly intelligent, by the book, incredible. But he doesn't really subscribe to a lot of the spirituality, you know, it's Sedona. And so we got matched where we had to play this horror game where I was completely blindfolded, and we went outside, and Zach, who I got partnered with, had to stand, he was like, I don't know, 100 feet away from me, and as soon as I would feel him go into my aura, I was supposed to go like this. And I stood there for several minutes and I did not feel him. And then all of a sudden, I felt him enter my aura. And I go like this, and I hear him say like, what the fuck? And I take my blindfold off. And he explained to me that he stood there for several minutes. And the second he stepped forward, I put my hand out. I am very sensitive. My aura, I've had to learn to kind of bring her in a little bit. And so for all of the energy work that we would learn in massage school, because it's not a typical massage school, although we learn everything you're supposed to learn in massage, but at the same time we do energy healing, automatic writing, we go on hikes together, we do all these spiritual games and tests together. But yeah, it was so beautiful. So I became like the test for teaching, like the one receiving like energy healing, because we would always volunteer, and everyone would always be like, oh, who wants to learn this deep tissue today? We'd all be like, me, because it means you get to lay on the table while the teacher, who has been doing this for so long, would show us how to do the massage, and then we would all massage each other and take turns. So I was massaged every single day, 5 days a week, for a long time, and it was amazing. But those friends that I made mirrored to me, like, this is how friends are supposed to be, like, true soul family. And like, that completely shifted me, and it made me realize, like, I am worthy of having friendships that are true and authentic and organic and magical, that mirror, like, we want to see each other grow, we want to see each other thrive. We can be completely silly with each other, but we can also have the deep conversations. And we had very deep conversations. Something we also learned in massage school was how to listen. So we would pull a name from the bowl, and we would be partnered with somebody, and I remember I was partnered with Zach again, and the intention was to listen without interrupting, without bringing your own story into it, and just allowing the other individual to vent. And then when they were finished, instead of saying, I'm sorry you went through that, you would say, thank you for allowing me to hear that. And then just whatever flowed from there, without taking away their experience, by bridging your own experience into it, or by saying you're sorry. And I know that's human nature when you hear something tragic or horrible, of saying sorry. Just holding space, acknowledging, like, I'm proud of you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that with me. And it really helped shape me into, first of all, being a good friend. I've always been a good friend, but I've always been shy and introverted, and And for the beginning, like the early of like 18 to like, I think I went to massage school when I was like 23, so from like 18 to 22, I surrounded myself with horrible influences, horrible humans that, I don't know, just not the right crowd. And I never felt like I fit in. I remember them telling me like, you're too hippie to be around us punks and stuff, but I'm like, I just am, like, I just am. And so that really showed me it's okay to let individuals go that don't serve you. Because when you do, like when I left my old life, I made the decision to fully release and just let go, because I knew my life would forever change. And I got to Sedona 2 weeks before massage school started, and in those 2 weeks I vowed to fall in love with myself, become my own best friend, more so than I had ever known before. I had a very traumatic childhood, horrific childhood, but I also had a lot of beauty in my childhood, and I was my own best friend in childhood. Imagination, magic was everything to me, and I had my close friends. And then when I became a teenager, everything shifted. I could go into that another time, because what I went through in my teenage years and from the first few years of being in my 20s, it was a lifetime movie. Like, I've thought about writing a book on it, but I don't think so, but perhaps I will share it someday. But it just made me realize, like, becoming your own best friend and falling in love with yourself, not because you're isolated, but because you genuinely love who you are as an individual, that is the shift that every single human deserves. And so when we cultivate the time to truly embracing and knowing our worth, everything changes, because it's a mirror, not just with friendship, but it's a mirror with, okay, I know my worth. Am I gonna put myself in an environment that will make me feel less than, or that will drain my energy? Am I gonna put this food into my body, even though I know it's poison? Am I gonna put this poison into my body? No, because I'm worthy of so much more. And so that is the journey of the return. And through it, cultivating joy, like I said at the beginning, the pathway of joy is the pathway to the return of who you are. And I remember, like 12 years ago, I was like, I want to return to who I was as a child, because my psychic gifts were like so giant, but also I was woven with imagination and creativity and joy, and it was just so, I was such a magical child. And I had a horrible childhood, but I also had, there was as much shadow as there was light, right? Although I think the shadow actually outweighed it. So now as an adult, I get to heal that inner child, and I get to become who I was as an inner child, as a child. And so, for me, I was so close to feeling that. And then I realized as a child, I wasn't smoking, I wasn't doing psychedelics, I wasn't doing DMT, like, I wasn't doing all of these things. And so, I think it was with my final, like, I did a microdose of mushrooms. I felt like it was time to close that chapter in order to fully return to who I was as a child. And I'm not saying, like, don't do natural psychedelics, because I think they're profound when they are intentionalized, when You want to, like, even before you smoked a joint, like, I would thank the energy of the marijuana, the cannabis, and like set my intention for what I wanted this high to do. And it would usually be around creativity or joy or just like walking in nature. But during that microdose journey, I just felt like it was time to close the door with all of that so that I can fully return to who I was as a child. And I quit cold turkey. Like, I didn't wean myself or anything. I just quit cold turkey. And I am so happy with who I am. I feel like I am that magical child again, but within a woman. A woman who knows her power and her worth, her energy and her wisdom. And who knows her ego and how to form a relationship with this without allowing it to rule myself. Because I've been there in the spiritual of like ego death and like I'm better, holier than thou because I'm vegan, you know, and I've let that go. And now, here I am. So that is why I feel like it's fully aligned to create these videos because I've done the work, and from this, such a glow up, not just like physically, but just like my aura, such a glow up because I used to be the saddest person I know. Now I'm like the most loving, kind, happy individual. It doesn't mean I don't get sad, like I have the depression gene. I failed to kill myself when I was a teenager. And that's a whole other story, but I was on the verge of it. And an angel called 911 and I was saved because I meant to be here. And so it's like I used to be the saddest person I know. And now it's literally my sacred service, my work to inspire other individuals to living and being their most authentic, magnetic, magical, beautiful self. And when I speak of beauty, I speak from the heart. So that feels complete. Thank you for being here with me. I hope your day is beautiful and magical. It's a full moon. What are we releasing? We are releasing. I release not knowing my worth. I release not being able to hold boundaries. I release being hard on myself. I release not knowing my beauty, not witnessing my beauty. I release poverty. I release money blockages. I release feeling stuck in my creativity, in my life. I release fear. I release not having the energy and the motivation to fueling my body with the best food, with exercise, and just being more clean and intentional. I release what no longer serves me. I release doubting myself. This is a time of release. I want you to, invite you, you don't have to, I invite you to exit this video and do a release. Even if it's not the full moon, like, magic is all about energy. It can be a full moon, a waning moon, a waxing moon, a new moon. It can be super sunny out, or it can be raining out. It's never that time to release. Actually, it's raining right now. I like sitting under the rain and just allowing it to just wash away and release. And you can do the same thing in a shower. So let me know what you want more videos on. I'm still creating my podcast into the esoteric, but I really want that to be more for like esoteric and occult whenever the energy aligns. And I want this one to be more around conscious consumption. So yeah, thank you Send this video to a friend who you feel would really resonate with